You know, our world is just packed with beautiful, incredible places to explore. But on that very same map, there are corners so hostile, so unforgiving, that to even step foot there is to basically challenge fate itself. Today, we're going to take a tour of the planet's most deadly locations.
And no, that is not an exaggeration. We're about to visit 5 places where survival isn't measured in days, but in minutes, and sometimes even seconds. Each one of them holds a unique and absolutely terrifying story.
And that's really the question at the heart of our journey today, isn't it? We're going to explore whether the greatest threats come from the raw, untamed power of the planet, or from the dark, unforeseen consequences of our own actions.
Okay, so our first stop takes us to the Ural Mountains of Russia, to a lake that honestly looks deceptively ordinary, but beneath its calm surface lies an invisible poison, a truly toxic legacy from the nuclear arms race of the Cold War.
So what happened here? Well, this lake became a convenient and, as it turns out, a catastrophic dumping ground. The Soviet Union, in its frantic race for nuclear supremacy, just poured staggering quantities of radioactive material directly into the water. No safety precautions, no nothing.
Now this number, this isn't a travel time or some kind of countdown, it's a death sentence.
Just think about this. Standing on the shore of Lake Karachay for a single hour would expose you to a dose of radiation so incredibly high that death is a certainty. And it wouldn't be quick. We're talking a slow, agonizing process as your internal organs just fail.
And the disaster didn't just stay in the lake. In the 60s, a drought came along, dried up parts of the lake, and the wind carried radioactive dust to all the nearby villages. It caused this horrible wave of cancers and all sorts of mysterious illnesses. Today, the lake is actually filled in with concrete, but the area is still a permanent, dangerous scar on the landscape.
All right, so from a man-made hell, we're now going to travel to a place where nature's law is brutal, it is swift, and it is absolute. Welcome to Ramri Island in Myanmar.
Yeah, this place isn't exactly known for its beautiful beaches. It's famous for a single, horrifying night that earned it a grim world record. A night that proved, without a doubt, who the true predator is in these swamps.
So get this. During World War II, 1,000 Japanese soldiers, retreating from the British, thought they could find refuge in the island's thick mangrove swamps. They had no idea they were walking straight into a trap. As night fell, the real inhabitants of the swamp, these massive saltwater crocodiles, began their attack. The sounds of that night were described as this terrifying symphony of screams and gunfire. The sheer horror of what happened is just staggering. Of the 1,000 soldiers who went into that swamp, British forces found only about 20 alive the next morning, and many of them were said to have been driven completely mad by the terror they'd witnessed.
Our third destination takes us to what looks like a perfectly tranquil lake in Cameroon. But this body of water isn't a predator you can see. It's a silent killer that holds a massive, explosive secret deep within its depths.
I know, it sounds like a riddle, right? But for the people living near Lake Nyos, it became a terrifying reality. See, the threat here doesn't come from what's in the water, but what's trapped beneath it.
On one night, back in 1986, the lake literally erupted, but not with lava, with a massive, invisible cloud of carbon dioxide. This gas, which is heavier than air, rolled down the hillsides and just silently settled over the surrounding villages, pushing all the oxygen out of the way. Over 1,700 people and thousands of animals simply died in their sleep, suffocated without making a sound.
From a silent killer, we now journey to a place that just screams danger, the Danakil Depression in Ethiopia. It is one of the hottest, driest, and lowest places on the entire planet. Honestly, it looks like it's from another world, but it's probably more accurately described as hell on Earth.
The landscape here is this stunning, hypnotic paradox. I mean, you see these vibrant pools of yellow and green, but they're not water, they're boiling acid. The air shimmers with heat that often goes over 50 degrees Celsius, and it's thick with toxic gases that can burn your lungs with just a single breath. And here, every single step is a massive risk. The beautiful, colorful ground you see, it's often just a thin crust. One wrong move, and you could fall right through into a bubbling pool of sulfuric acid. This is a landscape that is actively trying to kill you.
So, for our final stop, we're going to leave nature behind. The danger here isn't geological or biological. It's entirely of our own making. We're heading to La Rinconada in Peru, the highest city in the world. a modern dystopia built on an insatiable hunger for gold.
At 17,000 feet, the air is so thin it's a constant struggle just to breathe. And yet, thousands of people flock here, drawn by the promise of gold. It's a promise fueled by global markets far, far away from this place. They literally trade oxygen, health, and safety for a chance at a fortune in a city with almost no infrastructure.
Living here isn't just tough, it's lethal. There's no sanitation. Mercury from the mines has poisoned the water, the soil, and the air. And with no police, no rule of law, violence is just rampant. It's a society that's collapsing under the weight of a greed fed by the worldwide demand for this one precious metal. The locals actually have a nickname for it. They call it Satan's Paradise. Because, yeah, you might find treasure here, but the price you pay is your health, your safety, and maybe even your soul.
So we've seen a radioactive lake, a swamp full of predators, an exploding gas bomb, a volcanic hellscape, and a city literally built on poison. Each one is deadly in its own completely unique way.
You know, our journey has really shown us two very different faces of danger. On one hand, you have the raw, unforgiving power of the planet itself, but on the other, we've seen how human negligence, human greed, can create these hells on Earth that are just as deadly, and maybe even more tragic.
And that leaves us with one final question to think about. In a world that is full of dangers, is the greatest threat the one we can't control, or is it the one that comes from within ourselves? Which one should we truly fear the most?